In the spirit of Halloween, I'm going to be doing something terrifying. I'm going to be reading the book that I've been avoiding and dreading for years, Haunting Adeline by H.D. Carlton. What do I even say about this book? I feel like I know way too much about this book for someone who's never picked it up and has never read it, because there is just so much on Book Talk about this book. If you haven't heard about it, you're on the safe side of TikTok, okay? But I'm on the dark romance side of TikTok, and that means that all I see are videos about this book. Either they love this book or they hate this book. From what I know, this is a stalker romance and it gets pretty intense, pretty wild and crazy. And I'm not opposed to stalker romances just in general. I've read a lot of crazy stuff. I will read a stalker romance, that's fine. But I've heard that this book is like off the walls insane at some points. People have opinions, and I'm about to join those people because I'm going to force myself to read this book, and you guys will hear my opinions in this video. Maybe I will enjoy it, maybe I'll hate it. I'm probably gonna hate it, but I also don't want to like speak too soon. I want to give it a fair shot if I can. But also my best friend DNF'd this book and I trust her opinion more than anything else, so like it's really just for entertainment purposes. So I'm glad that you're here. I hope you enjoy this video. As always, subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos of me torturing myself. I mean, enjoying books. I guess all I have to do is start now. 550 pages of stalker romance. Here we go. I have a stripe across my face. That's interesting. I'll just try to like sit over here. I'm currently 10% of the way through this book, so 60 pages in. I'm trying so hard not to be overly judgmental, but I already know like this is not going well. The writing style is just not clicking with me. I feel like it's very tell not show, and then the pacing is weird because it'll like skip kind of important parts. Like, okay, she has a stalker, right? She is living in her old grandmother's mansion. She's finding her old grandmother's letters, and she's realizing that this random person is leaving red roses in her kitchen. She's wondering like what the heck is happening, right? And the logical thing to do would be to call the police. Well, she doesn't actually show us calling the police. She just tells us 2 weeks later that this is still happening and she called the police and they didn't do anything about it. You think that calling the police would be a big enough moment that needs to be described in detail? But no. What we do get described in detail is things like her and her best friend laughing at her grandmother's lingerie. Like, it's like really weird what is decided on being actually described and we're just told about as readers. I want to read you this quote from page 33. It's like early enough that it's not really a spoiler, but here we go. I don't know if God really exists. I don't know if mankind has ever walked on the moon, nor do I know if parallel universes exist. But what I do know is that I just found the meaning of life sitting behind a table with an awkward smile on her face. The first time Bestie Boo sees this girl, Adeline, he looks at her face and says, that right there is the meaning of life. Like, it's not even love at first sight at this point. It's the meaning of life at first sight. I want to give it a fair shot, but it's difficult. It's making it really hard for me. Because who is supposed to believe that just seeing I mean, I'm sure she's a beautiful woman, but just seeing her face, not even talking to her, just seeing her be awkward, holding a microphone and signing books and being like, yes, she's going to be mine. This is the meaning of life. As a person who reads a lot of like crazy wacko romance, even for me, this is a little insane. Hello. So I think the first time that I was filming with this vlog was last Thursday and it's currently Sunday, and similar to my last vlog, I spent quite a lot of days not reading anything. I'm still in the middle of a little bit of a book slump and this book is not helping me. I want to read something else, but I'm doing it for this video. I basically just haven't touched Haunting Adeline since I started reading like 10% on Thursday. It was just not interesting me. I don't care. I buckled down and bought the audiobook today. Thankfully it was on sale, so it wasn't actually that expensive, but I bought the audiobook, and so I've been kind of speeding through that. So I got to 50% today while filming a different video for my bullet journaling channel, and I was just like listening to it on the background. One nice thing about this book is it's kind of predictable, and again, I know quite a lot about it from all the talk about it online, so I don't really have to listen to every single word to understand the story. I get the story. Actually, I could probably tell you right now how the story ends, and I'm only halfway through. but I digress. I did want to talk about some points. I made a little list right here because, bro, I'm just not enjoying this at all. If you can't tell by my sarcasm and just overall demeanor, I'm not enjoying this book at all. And I really wanted to try and give it an honest and fair shot, okay? People like this book. There are a lot of people who on TikTok and on Instagram, whatever, who like spout wonderful things about this book. And I'm like I said, I can read and enjoy a dark romance like any other girl. So I'm like, maybe I'd actually enjoy it. Maybe, you know, maybe it's just... No, unfortunately, this is truly very bad. And it's not even just the story of a stalker romance like that. Like I said, sometimes I can get over. Genuinely, the writing is bad. It's all tell not show. It's driving me insane. I'm listening to minutes and minutes, which is just like pages and pages of like inner monologue of a character, for example, Zaid, the guy character, telling us all about his job and what he does and how he saves children and women who are like being sexually abused, which, I mean, good job, good for you, but like he'll like murder the abusers and stuff like that. Again, at least you're saving people, you know, like I can give you credit for that, but like it's the fact that you're spending pages and pages and pages of simple inner monologue just describing this when we kind of already knew this what you did from an earlier scene. And also like we can use context clues and through actions and piece together things. So much tell, not enough show. In the same way, Addie is very similar. Like the conversations, for example, between her and her best friend are like giving us information. I'm like, I hate when authors are lazy. Use action to show things happening and let us kind of dissect the character through action, but she's literally just telling us everything about herself, and it's honestly contradictory. Which brings me to my second point, is that Addie, the main character girl, is like not a well fleshed out character. I don't understand her at all. Like she contradicts herself all the time. She calls herself the manipulator. She's an author, so she manipulates people's thoughts and emotions by the words that she writes on paper, and she's strong and she's not going to do what other people say, and she's aware that she's in a dark house and that going down these hallways is bad because like in horror movies, if girls do this, they're stupid, and she's aware of these things. She's better than them. And then on the other side, it's like, well, she's still gonna go down the hallway. She's still gonna open that closet. She's still gonna go into the basement and stick her hand somewhere and see, like, you know, what she finds. She's still going to get involved with this guy, this stalker guy who's literally contacting her all the time. She's gonna text him back. She's gonna call him. We have no sense of who Addie is. Is she like a bad bitch who's gonna, you know, stand up for herself, or is she just gonna let this stalker man control her? She does both at different scenes. It's crazy to me because I'm like, we don't know who you are. You make no sense to me. And you're a hypocrite in yourself because you say that you're better than the girls in horror movies who go off and do crazy stuff, and then you're doing crazy stuff. Like, you would think that the stalker in the relationship would be the crazy one. In my opinion, Addie is the one that's annoying me more than anything. Because like Zaid, okay, well actually, Zaid, he has his own issues too. This is like not a direct quote, but I was like paraphrasing. They've already had some sexy time. I'm halfway through the book. I mean, of course they are, right? And he says, I know she's not consenting yet, and that's what I fight against because his literal job is to save people who are being sexually abused, but soon she'll give it to me. Excuse me? Excuse me? Your literal job is to save people from doing the exact same thing that you're doing to her, but in your mindset, it's like, no, I'm different because I know that she's going to enjoy it eventually. Babe, what? What? It's insane to me. It's insane. Like, when I read a dark romance, and I like a dark romance, it's because, number one, the main characters have a brain up in here, and two, it's like, there are so many different ways that we could have taken this thing. Like, if literally she, like, says that she's attracted to you, she wants to get down and dirty with it, y'all go do your thing. But, like, in the book, he's telling her these things, he's, you know, and she's very obviously not okay with it, but he's like, don't worry, I'm not actually assaulting you because I know that eventually you're gonna fall in love with me, and it'll be all worth it by then. It'll be all worth it by then because you're mine, and that's just how things work. Because I'm a man, I get everything that I want, basically. So the main characters, both of them. I was going to say Addie, it's really just both of them. They're driving me insane. They're so annoying. They have nothing up in here. Nothing. And it's honestly hard to read. So I am going to force myself through the end. The audiobook is saving me here because there was no way I was going to sit down and actually read, like physically read this book and get through it. But the audiobook just playing at 2.5 times speed in the background is like getting me through. I am going to finish it to say that I did, to say that I gave it a fair shot. I did try to give it a fair shot, but like it's annoying. The writing's bad, the plot's bad, the characters are bad. Nothing about this is redeemable to me. And if you love the book, okay, you have your own opinion, that's fine. But for me, it is not working for me, okay? So I guess I'll update you guys when I'm further in, but for now I'm just like, it's a struggle. Hello, hello. Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. I feel like this vlog is a lot of me talking and not a lot of me like actually showing you my reading, but it's because number one, I listened to a lot of this through audiobooks, so it's kind of hard to show that. And also, I didn't really enjoy the process of reading it. I just wanted to get through it as quickly as possible and not vlog it. So that's why I'm just going to yap about this basically, but I have things to say for sure. I finished Haunting Adeline this morning. I got the last couple of pages, closed that Kindle, took a deep breath, and said that book is behind me. I think without saying this was a very easy 1 star for me, but I want to explain my issues with this book rather than just like call it quits, because I do think there are a lot of people who enjoy this book and a lot of people who are actually genuinely curious about this book, and I want you to be very aware of what you're getting into whenever you read this if you haven't read it before. As always, if you have opinions about this book that differ from mine, totally okay, but like my opinions, because I had a lot of issues with this book, I really want to talk about. So I talked before about how much I hated the characters, how much I didn't like the plot. Overall, it was very predictable. Basically everything that happened, almost, I guessed, from about halfway through. There was like a little bit in the middle. There was like a scene with a different character that pops in and then leaves very quickly. I thought it was a very unnecessary scene. I didn't think that we needed her at all. There was a little bit about the history of Adeline's great-grandmother, because I think I mentioned this before in this video, but basically her great-grandmother leaves letters, or left letters, that Adeline is finding in this house. And so she's reading the story of her great-grandmother, who also had a stalker, just like Adeline has a stalker. And then she finds out that her great-grandmother was actually viciously murdered, so she's trying to figure out who did it. Although in my opinion, everyone who could have done it or who was there is dead. So like there's really no reason to figure it out unless you just need closure about it, in which case you do you. I understand that. But overall, I was just like, the whole secondary like parallel plot with like the 2 different stalkers was a little unnecessary for me, just in general. Those are like elements of a bad book in my opinion, but it didn't actually ruin the book for me. Just like the smut, for example. There was a lot of crazy smut in this, absolutely wild stuff, but like I can just skim over or skip through. That wasn't the problem for me. Like, do know that going in that there is going to be that stuff in there, but like that's not what stopped me from giving this like a 2 star. For example, I gave this a 1 star specifically because Zaid, I think. Adeline's an idiot. I don't like her either, but Zaid and his hypocrisy drives me up a wall. Like I want to bang my head into my desk because it's just insane. I want to read a couple quotes for you that made me absolutely like go insane. Number 1, page 412. They just finished having sex. She goes, "I hope you know I'm on birth control." He chuckles and says, "For now." Okay. Okay. Next, page 417. This is from Zaid's point of view. "I don't know how I'm supposed to concentrate when I just found God. Or rather, I think I just became one." Ooh! Oh! What a statement. What a statement. And finally, page 506, talking to his friend Jay. Jay says, "I like my women willing." Okay, that might be nice. Zaid, "A wicked smile forms, though the heat in my eyes remain. Sounds to me like you don't understand a woman's body well enough to know when it sings for you, even when her mouth tries to resist." Okay, so that last one specifically, so much to unpack here. Number 1, this book is written by H.D. Carlton, who is a woman, but she writes like a misogynist. This book is written like it's written from a man's point of view because of the things that the main characters say about women in this book. Like, it's actually insane to me that as a woman, as a female, you can write a book saying awful things about women and absolutely writing the opposite of what feminists are saying or what women deserve to have said about them. Like, number 1, someone saying that I'm on birth control and the guy being like, "Not for long, because your body is under my control, so whether or not you're on birth control is my choice, not the woman's choice." It is absolutely insane for a woman writing this book to insinuate that is a normal and okay thing. As a woman, you'd think that you would stand up for the female in the perspective. You would think you would stand up for the girl who wants to control her own body, and she doesn't. Wild. Moving on to the second one. Zaid thinks that he so good he becomes God. Crazy thing for someone to say. And once again, it sounds like a man wrote that, because only a man would think something as dumb as that. Only a man would think that. And yet a woman wrote this. Wild. Thirdly, "I like my women willing, bare minimum." Bare minimum. That's what Jay said. And Zaid, the main character, goes, "Sounds like you don't understand when, even though her mouth is trying to resist, whenever she is physically saying, 'No, don't touch me, don't assault me,' her body is singing for you. You don't understand that. If her body is singing for you, it's okay. Because she may be literally saying no, but I know she wants me deep down." And that is a huge issue. His job in this book is saving women and children who are being molested, who are being abused, who are being sexually assaulted, being tortured and killed. That is his literal job, which is incredibly admirable. I appreciate you for doing that. And although there is like murder in this book, he's murdering people like pedophiles and killers and rapists and literal insane psychopaths. So if anyone has to be murdered in a book, I can support that. However, even though his literal job is to go and do that and save these people from being assaulted, he turns around and says, however, I am not assaulting Adeline whenever she is literally saying no. She is not giving me any consent at all. But it doesn't really matter because her body is saying yes, and therefore it gives me the justification to rape her. She is turned on by it. It's only a physical reaction. She can't really control that. But like, she's literally saying no. And he's saying, but I know you mean yes. And once again, for a woman to write this in a book, she's like condoning this man's sexual assault by writing these things. And it's so hypocritical of him to be like, I am doing the exact same thing that the people I am murdering are doing. However, it's different when I do it because I understand her body and I'm a man, so I can do what I want. It's insane. He is insane. Respectfully to the people who like this book and who fawn over Sade Meadows and say he's so hot and he's so protective and this and that, you are blatantly ignoring not only the red flags, like the legitimate crime by frequently and repeatedly sexually assaulting and raping Adeline, who is in turn justifying it in her mind and is being manipulated to fall in love with him. Now at the end, she does realize that he's the one for her and they fall in love, or so we assume. And although I think it is insane, if at that point she decides that even though he is crazy, that she loves him, at that point, although I do think it's wild and crazy, you do you. You know what I'm saying? Like, whatever, have your whatever. But the time before, Adeline kind of comes to that conclusion where she is still verbally saying no to him and he is still doing crazy wacko stuff to her. That's where I have my issue in this book, because it is essentially justifying sexual assault. It doesn't want you to think that, but that's exactly what's happening. Anyway, I've been talking for like 10 minutes. I need to like pull myself together. I'm not going to go on and read the sequel. I absolutely can't. I physically can't read the sequel. It gives me goosebumps. I'm like pained talking about this. I'm like, it's so unfathomable for me for a woman to write this book. It goes against so much that feminists fight for, that women work for. Women are treated so poorly in real life. Literal stuff in this book happens to people all the time in real life, all the time. And it's horrible. And the fact that this book basically romanticizes it happening to a random girl, Adeline, is crazy. It's crazy. In my personal opinion, that you can disagree with, but in my opinion, this book is horrible. I do not ever recommend it to anyone. Save your time, save your money, save your effort. Read something else. Anything else. Something else. Okay. So, happy Halloween. That was me reading a scary book, for sure. Maybe not a thriller, but just as terrifying nonetheless. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, although it was definitely a little crazy. Next week I'm going to be posting my wrap-up video, so subscribe if you want to see that coming out next week. I have a lot of fun books that I've read in the past couple months that I want to talk to you guys about. Until then, I'm wishing you guys an amazing couple of days. I love you so much, and I will see you in that video, which I will link here on the screen. Goodbye.